Hey everyone, it is Vickie Magic here with our podcast today called Wake Up, You've Got This. And today I have the honour and the privilege of having an amazing lady, Tracey Mathers, with us today. Welcome, Tracey.
Thanks so much, Vickie. Great to be here.
Thank you for coming up from Brizzy for this today. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
So to begin with, let's start by actually asking you the question of a little bit about your life story. Some people may already know that you are Tracey Mathers of the Mathers Shoes. Sure. Other people may not. Just give us a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. So, Vickie, I am a third generation retailer from the Mathers Shoe family. And I guess I consider myself one of the lucky ones because I was born into a family with a business that I absolutely loved. And I can remember, from as early as 6 years of age, going in and visiting my dad in head office, which was in Mary Street in Brisbane City. And I loved this building. It was like 3 levels of, everybody that it took to run these shoe stores. And I think at the time there was about 250 of them. So, there was accountants and there was, the buyers and the assistant buyers, and I just loved cruising and I fell in love. So when I used to go to school in high school, I remember, the headmistress calling my mum in and saying, look, she's a lovely girl. She's great at organising. She helps us organise everything out there, but we're not quite sure what you're going to do with her. And mum used to come home and say, darling, do you think you could apply yourself a little bit better? And I used to say, it's okay. I know what I want to do. I want nothing more than to go and, work with dad in the business. And that day came, when I graduated from school and, I had to go and I went and saw my dad. And I said to him, I've had plenty of time to think about this and I have never changed my mind. I've never wavered for what I want to do. So I really want to join the family business. And I said, but I really would like you to bring me into the business, but stay out of my journey. Like, let me discover the journey on my own. And so that's what we did. So I joined the business when I was 17. I did a business management course at night at TAFE, which was fabulous, and stayed working with them for many years until Dad actually had organised. So it was a public company, and Dad organised a takeover from Woolworth America.
Wow.
So, which was huge for me because I really had these visions, whether he knew it or not. I'm sure I had told him plenty of times, but I did have these visions that I was going to step into his position one day as chairman and managing director of Mathers. But that wasn't to be. And the American company that took over were absolutely fabulous. And I'm not sure if the listeners out there have worked with Americans before, but they run things really differently. They're really great at motivation, and they spend a lot of time, effort and money on training and that sort of thing. And I really enjoyed it. But then they just decided to change what they were doing, and they closed down several of the divisions of Mathers that left massive gaps in the marketplace, in my opinion. So I saw that gap. So I went away and I did a little business plan. And part of my job at Mathers at that time was finding new sites to open stores into. And I found this amazing site in the Tattersalls Arcade in Brisbane City, and my dad's good friend Robin Gibson was the architect behind it. So I made an appointment with him first of all, just to talk about his vision for it, and I thought this is going to be so fantastic. So I went to my dad with my business plan and said, "What do you think?" And he was so excited. He just said, "Let's do this. This is fantastic." And so that's when, at 24 years of age, I opened up my first retail shop in 1991. Wow. And it was called Tracey Mathers Shoe Studio in the Tattersalls Arcade. And it just grew from there. I sort of opened a shop a year. The next year was at Pacific Fair at the Gold Coast, and then I opened at Carindale. And at one stage I was up to 7 stores.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. And I actually sold them 3 years ago. So I'm now out of that game.
Yep. And so do they still exist with that name?
No. What happened was I actually had started to close them down because, in business we have to have succession plan. We have to be organised of what we're doing. So I had decided I wanted to do something different. So I had started my plan and shut them down because I wanted to keep my name. Excuse me. Because I wanted to know that I could actually use my name down the track for something else if I wanted to do it. So eventually 2 companies contacted me and said, listen, you're closing some stores down, what are you doing? And I said, I'm actually getting out. And they said, well, we need to talk. So they actually bought the stores. So because we had a fantastic database, where the locations were great. We had great reputation and name. So so they just bought me out.
Great client base.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so now that you're not doing that, if I was to ask you, what's your why now? What are you doing now?
Yep.
And why?
Okay. So obviously after 36 years working in retail, in sales, corporate, whatever you'd like to call it, I've learnt a lot. I've learnt a lot of lessons, and both good and bad. So now I just want to help other people to have the success going forward that they dream of and that they want. So I actually mentor now people in small to medium business in everything I've learnt, and, be there to guide and help them through on their own journeys, because I know how much I loved my own journey. I had such a ball opening and running those stores. I loved every single part of it. I loved the negotiation. I loved the staff, leadership with the staff. There was everything. Obviously, I loved traveling the world, buying beautiful shoes for women.
Yeah.
But there was
what girl wouldn't love that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there was so much that I just absolutely loved about it. And, I think sometimes in business we do tend to make things more complicated and hard than they need to be. So I want to be that accountability buddy for those people going forward to sort of, teach them and guide them and help them, but also just to say, come on, you've got this. Yeah. And to be that accountability buddy that they are actually doing what they need to do to get the results that they want to get.
Yeah, awesome. So was there a moment then that you can kind of pinpoint in your journey where you actually kind of had an awakening, where you did realise that you have got this thing called life?
Am I right to stop for a second, or do you have to keep going?
Well, it doesn't. The thing keeps going. Yeah, it's all good. Oh, it's this side.
Yeah, sorry, Vickie, because I knew I had been really specific on what I had said to you, that I had my aha moment.
Yes.
There's so many aha moments in my life that I talk about.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest aha moments in business for me of when I knew, maybe not that I had it, but that I had to change the way that I was thinking to actually have it, was I was about 26 or 27, and my dad had been coming to all my meetings. I had a very big overdraft for my business, so I didn't have a lot when I first started, but that was back in the days where it was so easy to get money. Like they literally would throw it at you and ask you how much. It's changed now, but back then it was very, very easy. And but I used to always go to those meetings with my dad because I was a bit nervous about the bank manager. And my bank manager was one of those guys that used to have the little glasses, that he used to wear on the edge of his nose, and he'd sort of look over the top of them at you. And anyway, so one day I decided, no, today's the day I need to, pull up my big girl panties and go on my own and show my dad that I've got this, and I'm, it's not a problem. So off I went. I had a very big growth plan that I had put in place. So obviously I needed some more capital to be able to do that. So I went and I'd planned it all out, and, in hindsight, maybe the fact that I had it in beautiful pink folders didn't go my way so much, but I presented it and I thought it was pretty fantastic, and I was very proud of it. And, he just gave me nothing. He read it and I got nothing. There was no facial expression. There was no encouragement. There was no, raising of eyebrows or anything. There was just nothing. And eventually after he'd finished, he actually said to me, I have one question for you. And I said, yeah, what's that? And he said, how long do you think you're going to continue to do this? And it sort of really threw me because I had not thought about an end. You know, I was right into it. I was loving every second. You know, when you wake up and you can't wait to get to work, that was me. And I was always late getting home because I loved it. So I hadn't thought about an end. And I said to him, well, there is no end as far as I'm concerned. And he said, well, there's always an end. And he said, and I really do love, and it wasn't these exact words, but it was basically, I love when a girl plays shop, you know. And I was really crushed because, you know, I had, you know, at that stage I had millions of dollars of turnover. I was doing really well. It was a profitable business. I didn't see that there was any issues or problems. I was doing everything the way I had to do. I was repaying when I had to repay. There was no problems or anything like that. So I didn't understand that attitude of a lack of encouragement. And I was devastated. And back then, I didn't have the confidence, obviously, that I have today. I mean, I'd love to have that conversation again today. I'd love that opportunity. But back then, he really rendered me speechless. So I didn't have anywhere else to go. So I just left. And I went to my safe place, which was my mother and father's place. They were always my mentors. They were always, you know, two people that believed in me so much and, you know, encouraged me so much. So I went straight there. And of course I put on the dramatics and told them what had happened. And, you know, I'm sure I put my head to my forehead and made sure they understood what I'd been through. Yep. And I said to them, you know, this is what's happened. And my dad let me finish, which was quite incredible for my father because normally he would have shut that down big time. And then he actually said to me, I'm going to teach you one of the biggest lessons of your life, kiddo, and that is that this stuff goes down and you know, you need to find your voice. But what I didn't realise is that he was so angry because obviously I was his little girl and he wanted to protect me, that he actually organised a meeting with the bank manager without me knowing. So I turned up to his house and the bank manager was sitting there. And so I really felt sorry for the man. You know, my dad taught him a very valuable lesson, but my dad could be very forthright, you know. He was a strong personality. And I was really embarrassed because the hatred that man looked at me with, I just didn't ever want to feel like that again. So from that day, I decided that no man would ever have to stand up for me in business again, that I would find my voice, that I would be brave, and that I would reply to make sure that I was understood. And that was a really valuable lesson, Vickie, because there were so many situations that came up again where I learnt my strength and I showed those people in my own kind of way that I wasn't going to be treated like that I deserved the respect that, you know, of what my business was achieving. I deserved that respect.
Yeah. So it was almost a good thing that happened.
Well, it was a good thing. And I mean, these lessons do come up, don't they? These life lessons are so important for us. And they're the sort of lessons that, you know, you can save people going forward that heartache by teaching them that those sort of things do happen and what you have to do to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And so on that topic of life lessons, my next question is, what is a life lesson aside from that one, which that's amazing, but another one that you could share with our listeners that could make a real difference to them and their business?
And it would get back to exactly that story that I just told, is making sure that you do learn to, you know, use your voice and that you don't, you know, settle in life, that you don't allow people to tell you how to run your life, how your life should pan out, that you do actually decide exactly what you want. So it's about having real clear clarity. You know, it's that real clear clarity of who you want to be, what values you have, what you want out of your life, and then just making sure, because, you know, I don't know what you've been like throughout your business career, but there's so many people that like to take you down. There's so many people that are uncomfortable where you're at. You know, we have friends that, you know, we keep growing and maybe they're not growing with us at the same rate, so they're always trying to bring us back down to where they're comfortable. You know, you got to surround yourself with those amazing people that actually get your journey and who are so supportive and ready to take you on it. Yeah. And, you know, I think with that lesson that I just learnt that I spoke about, you know, I have friends now that because both my parents are no longer with me, I have friends now who, say something goes wrong and you're really not 100% sure of how you should deal with it, or, whether you should face it head on or that, and you just want somebody else to run that past. Find that amazing circle of trust. Find those really trusted people that believe in you, understand your journey, and want to be your champion, who want to really, build you up, and make sure that you hang on to them tight, and that you show that respect to them that they give to you, and ask away as much as you want with questions that you need help with. We don't have to do this thing of life alone.
Yeah. And it is really important, isn't it, that we surround ourselves with people that do light us up and that have our back.
Absolutely, it is, most certainly.
Absolutely. So the next question is kind of the big one, and that is, do you have this?
Do I have this thing called life?
Yeah.
Do I have this? Do you know what? I actually think I do. But in saying that, I don't think we ever do 100%, because that's what the beautiful part about growth is. I don't want to stay where I am now. I just want to keep being bigger and better and learning more and surrounding myself with, fabulous, incredible people that help me and teach me. So, yes, I've got life, because I guess it's a different answer to everybody. But for me, life, if I said, have I got this? It's about happiness. It's about being comfortable where I am. It's being surrounded by, who I have around me, who are all amazing people. And I'm really comfortable and happy in the life that I have. But boy, I've got so much still that I want to do, and so many things more I want to learn and help other people with. So yes, I've definitely got life, but I'm going to kill it even more going forward.
Yeah. There's way more to come.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome.
So much more.
So if somebody was listening to this who doesn't have it, and you wanted to give them some encouragement as to how they could get it,
yes,
what might you say?
Do you know, I think one of the big things that I come across on a daily basis with clients that I work with is that we are so focused on what we're not good at. We're so focused on, so like, say for instance, if I sat down with a new client and I said to them, tell me what you're fabulous at, they stop and they really struggle. So tell me what you're not fabulous at, and they can just keep talking to me for 2 hours. So, why is it that we are so on top of what we're not capable of, and yet we never celebrate and think about what we're brilliant at? So for me, it would be work out what your absolute strong strengths are. Your 5, your 10, whatever it is, your amazing strengths, and then look at, are you using those to the best of your ability with what you're trying to achieve in your life? And make sure that if you're not, that you are connecting with those, and that, you're using those to the best of your ability to help yourself. But stop focusing on what you're not great at and start to focus on what you're fabulous at.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. Okay, so I've got 2 more questions, and I'm going to ask them both together.
Okay.
And then I'm going to let you answer them. So the first one is basically, is there anything else that you have a burning desire to share? And then the second one is, do you have an offer for our listeners of something that you would like to offer them today?
Absolutely. So the first one is, I guess what I really want to share is, I've learned this lesson, and I'm going to go right away from business at the minute. I'm going to talk about myself, my personal self, and that is my weight loss journey over my life. I was always a bigger child. I was always a bigger girl, and what I did was I was always on a diet. I'd always be looking at the latest and greatest. And when I look back through now and I see the inconsistency of what I was doing with myself and to myself, I really twisted it back to the same thing with business. Do you know, all you've got to do is find something you want to do and stick to it, and it will work. But we're always looking for the easier way, the bigger picture, that smarter person to show us an easier way, Whereas if we just slowly plug away, I don't know if you've ever seen that cartoon of the guy with the gold and he gives up 1 second before he's about to hit the gold in the wall, where he's been digging for 5 days. If he had a dug for 5.5, he would have got there. So it's about that consistency in our lives, because, you know, so often we give up so easily, or we go to the shiny object syndrome problem where we're jumping from one thing to the other. So be consistent in whatever you choose to do, and you will actually succeed.
And you don't want to get to the top of the mountain in one day.
No, that's exactly right. And you just slowly chip away at it. And it's the people that stay focused and slowly chip away that are always the ones that succeed. It's the ones that are jumping all over the place and trying to find the next quick fix thing, that they never actually get there. So, you know, get clarity around what it is that you want to do, and just be consistent in your daily work that you need to do to get there and get that done. And, you know, surround yourself with whoever you need to help you get there, but don't keep swapping and changing until, obviously, if it's, you know for a fact it's not going to work, but most things will work if we put that consistency and hard work into them. We'll get there.
Awesome. And your offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a 2-hour strategy session with people with just getting really good clarity around what it is that you want to do, with some goal setting and some strength work. And that's normally $795, and I'd love to offer it for half price for anyone that's interested.
Cool. Okay, so I will put a link to that on the bottom of this podcast. Thank you very much for your time today.
Vickie, it's been fun. Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure. Vickie Magic here, signing off from Wake Up. You've got this.